gentlemen, welcome to episode 51 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. Tonight's guest star is a Glow original, a Glow legend, and one of the very few Glow girls to actually stay with the company until from the start to the bottom. My guest at this time is Miss Lori Nanoshka Palmer. Lori, how are you today?
Well, I'm in Las Vegas, so I'm absolutely melting right now. But other than that, I'm doing great. Pete, nice to talk to you.
Awesome, and it's such an honor to have you on. I've been a fan of yours for a very long time, and you know what? I mean, I've talked to so many Glow girls, and you know, some of the Glow girls I never got to speak to, like because they weren't on Facebook or like no social media. The one I always wanted to talk to was you because I was such a huge fan of the Nanoshka.
You know, that's so sweet. And only recently I've kind of come back out, and it's a little disturbing. Like you probably weren't even born when Glow aired. Like I meet all these like really wonderful, handsome men, and they come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I watched you as a kid. I was a little kid and you were my favorite." And you're like, "Okay, I feel old now." Okay.
I'm not trying to make you feel that way at all. No, not at all. I mean, I've been a fan for a very long time though. I thought you were like in my top 5 best Glow girls of all time. That's how much and you played the heel very well though. Like I'm just saying, like the Nanoshka character. Pardon me. The Nanoshka character is probably one character that every Glow fan will remember always.
Well, I really appreciate that. And a lot of that has to do with the writers. They gave me a really great part to play. I put my heart and soul in it, and I hope that I added a lot to it. But they gave me a great start.
Awesome. And here's one of the first questions I have for you. Prior to Glow, where was Lori Palmer prior to Glow?
Okay. So Lori Palmer, age 5, San Diego. I was a figure skater. I was on the ice at 5 a.m. every morning. My bones still feel that cold. Then we moved to Vegas. We actually moved to Vegas because my ice skating coach, bought a rink in Vegas. And then I turned over to dancing. I danced in many great Las Vegas shows, the Lido de Paris, the Moulin Rouge, a lot of great shows. And then I ended up at Glow.
Awesome. And that was actually going to be my next question too, was how did you hear about Glow and what was the audition like for Glow? Take me there.
Okay. So I've told this story before, but it's just absolutely true. Lori Thompson, Susie Spirit, phenomenal dancer, acrobat. My mother worked at the Folies Bergère and made her costumes for Star Search. And Lori Thompson recommended my mom, and my mom was signed on to be the costumer for Glow, which I want to say her and Matt like had a really good chemistry together. They kind of like read each other. They understood each other. So I went to fittings. I was there to take measurements and just to assist my mom. And I saw this like huge training camp and girls working out, and they said anybody could try out. And I was like, "Mom, I gotta go to training camp. Sorry, can't do your fittings anymore."
Awesome. Very cool story. And next question was, of course, because you were considered one of the powerhouses of Glow, like the strength, like Braun, Braun the Solar, too sweet to be sour, a powerhouse. What were your memories working with Matilda Hunt, D. Brewers?
Oh, okay. So I've always said this about Glow. I'm so grateful for April Hahn was Royal Hawaiian was like my trainer, but she only started training to do Glow. So Dee Buhar was one of the rare ones that was a, oh my God, this woman was a wrestler. She wrestled a bear. Okay. So she was way, way out in front of us. She, unfortunately, her body is like feeling the pain of it now. Um, she led the pathway to glow. She was a huge, huge part of it. And my favorite thing about Dee was she came up with the glow wraps. Like the glow wraps are like legendary, and that was all her. And that was really way ahead of its time. I'm just so proud of her for that.
She's definitely a legend, and one of my favorites too. Like if I had to name my top favorite heels in Glow, you and her would be two of the five. And I do want to ask you though about the character you played, which was Nanoshka. How did that come to be? Was it your idea? And how did you feel about portraying like a Russian character?
I've put a lot of thought into this lately because, okay, I've told the story before. Um, there was a Russian girl um, that fell out of glow. Okay, so there was this great sketch, Easy as KGB. I mean, come on. That's like once in a lifetime great thing. So when I was in training, Matt Simber told me about this character that had dropped out and said, you wrestle, but the sketches are on the show every single week. So you really got to do this. So I just jumped in. And I've been thinking a lot about it lately because I'm watching like Tanya and our Fallout. And, I think a lot of Nanochka, I've said before, I was a skater. The Russian skaters were the best in the world. They trained harder than everybody else. But I also, at 15 years old, I was in the Lido du Paris, and I'm 5'8". I was the shortest person in the cast. And there were these, Colleen Forsyth was like 6'4", South African from Rhodesia. She was like this huge goddess that just like walked down the staircase with like a 50-pound feather pack on her back. But she was so regal. And she was just so, and I think a lot of my Nanochka character actually like came from her, like just bigger than life and just don't mess with.
Makes sense. Um, Very cool, like influential story. And I do want to. You mentioned before, easy as KGB though. Your memories of filming those segments, because I love those segments, especially when you go, hello, Vladimir, and then you threaten him on the phone before shoving the phone down on the receiver.
Here's the craziest part of the sketches. Okay. What is the season? 26 episodes. Um,
I believe
you
so. Yeah.
have everybody's sketches you filmed in one night. You did your whole season in one night. So you just had to pray you were having a good night because if you weren't on, that's like a whole year wasted. So, but I loved those sketches. Steve Lance, Matt Simber, yeah, that was a gift. That was a gift. It was easy to make them special.
You mentioned the gentlemen that were in Glow, though. You mentioned Steve Bland, Matt Simber. What were your memories working with David McLean and Johnny C?
Okay, so here's I actually have to David McLean, like I have to say I'm sorry. Um it wasn't written. It wasn't like nobody forced you to, but it was kind of like you were either in Matt Simber's camp or you were in David McLean's camp. And I have like gone on the record and saying, oh, Matt did so much, David didn't do so much. And that really isn't true. Um, and I don't know why I felt that way. Um, I was never close to David McLean, although I thought we had really good chemistry in the ring. But I always thought he didn't like me, and I have no reason to think that. So I just want to, David, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. What about Johnny C?
Oh, Johnny C was just fun. Um, just what can you say? You just love the guy. I mean, you know, oh my God. In Glow, we beat up all of our refs. All of our refs got so abused by all of us, but we loved them all dearly, especially when they called them at us.
Very
Johnny
okay.
C's doing a lot out there now. I've actually seen him on Facebook, and I think he's doing like a lot of good stuff. Give me a job.
Hire her. Hire Lori. She's charismatic. She's one of a kind. You have my endorsement, Lori.
You know what? He tried. He tried. And I'm so bad. I'm so bad. I'm finally like on Facebook. But I'm like so technologically like inept. Many people have tried to contact me and I didn't return the calls because I didn't know how to. Sorry.
It's all right. I do have a question though too, because this was I believe your first match in Glow. I could be wrong on this. I have no clue, but I think it was your first one, and it was Nanoshka versus Little Feather. What were your memories filming that match?
Definitely not my first match.
Okay.
But you gotta remember, okay, so like I always refer to Glow 1 and 2 and Glow 3 and 4 because what happened was we filmed 1 and 2 at the same time. So maybe that was the first match that aired, but definitely not the first match I did. Little Feather was beautiful. I think it was one of my mom's best costumes ever. And I did buy her I bought her feather headdress, and we got it from Nancy Williams Costumes. She was really into authentic Indian art, and that was a real Indian headdress made by natives, and that was special. I
Very
think
cool.
I beat the crap out of her too.
You did. The reason I asked that though, Lori, is because they have the pilot episode, and then they have the first episode, and the first episode that they do like in chronological order was the episode that featured that match. That's why I was asking you if it was the first Nino match.
Yeah, definitely not the first because she I can't tell you specifically, but she was a late entry, a little bit of a late entry into season 1.
Oh.
Like she wasn't in training camp when I started.
Oh, I see. Now, did also like in the training camp though too, was Mondo Guerrero one of your trainers?
No, unfortunately, no. Okay, so Mondo only worked with the original pilot girls in East LA. I never got to meet him. I never got to train with him, but he, I mean, he trained Royal Hawaiian and Americana. And so, like, I feel like I know him because I got that great training, but I never got to work with him. And that's sad.
I'm sorry, Lori. Now didn't you also train some of the season 3 and 4 girls?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I had such a weird thing about that because, like I say, I've been out of the loop for a while. And like 20 years later, when I see April Hahn, Royal Hawaiian, I'm like, oh my God, she was my trainer. She's like a god to me. And then I see all these Glow girls from 3 and 4, and they feel the same way about me. They're like, Nanoshka was my trainer. She trained us. And I was like, wow, that was like a weird thing for me. Like, because I just kind of felt like I was passing the baton. I didn't create anything new. I just was passing the baton. I did have a lot of dance and Debbie Debutante was also fabulous. She had gymnastics and dance. And so we had a lot of strength and body understanding, but all the wrestling stuff came from like Royal Hawaiian Americana, which came from Mondo. So we take no credit for that.
I see. And I have to ask you too, because I asked other wrestlers that come on this show too. Do you have a preference like on like what wrestlers you work with? Whether do you like working with the smaller wrestlers better or the bigger wrestlers better? Like, or is there any difference to it?
Okay, so my experience in Glow was we never had a choice. Okay, so it was not a question that was ever asked to us. Um, I I think I like the bigger girls. Like I say, when I was in the Lido, I was 5'8" and I was the shortest person on stage. So I think I'm a shrimp at 5'8". So I liked the taller girls. I thought that was more stature and more thing. And so like I kind of felt bad when I had like, babe, the farmer's daughter, you're so adorable and you're so tiny. Um, you're just gonna beat them up. So I like the aesthetics of working with the larger girls.
Oh, okay. And definitely want to get your thoughts on this too, because you participated in both of these great segments. And that is on what the first one is Nasty and Mean, which was a great music video. And of course, Good Girls Don't, where all the bad girls are on the balcony booing them. And I remember you going like this with your nose like this. Like, so it was just a funny scene. Your memories of shooting those two music videos.
Okay, so before I answer that question, like I say, I've been doing a lot of research. I worked with 60 glow girls, and you cannot find anybody anywhere who says anybody had like there was no fights, there was no fist fights, there was no screaming matches outside of the ring. Everything was in the ring. None of us had a problem with each other ever in Glow, which to me is not natural. Like there's something wrong there. And I feel like we were so afraid of Matt and David that we didn't dare get upset with each other. Now, they never did anything that I could say, oh, wow, they intimidated us. But the funny thing about that, I am so proud of Nasty and Mean. We shot that in a day and a half. I was given carte blanche in the Riviera to shoot it everywhere. Now, however, let's talk about the Good Girls song. They shot that sucker for months. Months. And it's one shot. They're at the pool. Okay, there's that one little shot where the bad girls, and that took like 10 minutes for us to be like, meh, meh, meh. They shot that Good Girls thing for months, and I think it's just because the men like seeing the girls in those beautiful bikinis.
I see. And you know, well, they were both two great music videos too. I mean, I'm a fan of both.
Great.
No, I just thought the choreography was good. I wanted to ask you about that too. Like, what was the choreography like when filming Nasty Me? Who did the choreography for that particular music video?
Well, hello, you and I talked about this. My beloved Chainsaw, hello, was on your show and said that Jungle Woman choreographed that. No, no, that was all me. Jungle Woman was not there. Now, Matt Simber helped with a lot of great shots, but he gave that ball to me. Like, do it. So that was my work.
Okay. And I do want to ask you this too, Lori. Like when you filmed like those segments, like backstage, where you had like Matilda's picture in the background, like it looked like a room. I remember because one of the segments you were like, Susie Spirit is too sweet while holding a brandy. What room was that? I always wondered that.
You know what? You texted me that in advance, okay? And I couldn't figure that out. I don't remember a room with a picture of Matilda. Gosh, I just can't answer that one.
No worries. Now here's a question I asked BC actually told me a very funny story. Kelly told me a funny story about this, where like during battle royals or in a match in general, they would have conversations in the ring. Like I remember BC telling me that one time she, when putting a headlock on one of the good girls, she said she would like be like, "Hey, you want to go to the mall?" or something like that. Like, do you have like any fond memories of like conversations during a match?
Okay, so I have a hard time with this. Okay, so you've had people on your show and you've talked about kayfabe, right? You
Yes.
understand about kayfabe,
Of course, the
right?
storyline.
Being in character. And I do think this was like a Glow 1 and 2 was a little stronger because we lived 24/7 in the Riviera. And I, it was so ingrained in us to not break character. Like, just don't break character. As a matter of fact, like my first interview coming out after 20 years, I did a radio show with Royal Hawaiian, and I stayed in character the whole time because I felt like I'm scared. Like, I still feel uncomfortable saying what really happened out of character. Like, it feels like I'm doing something sacrilegious. Um, I think that the 3 and 4 girls weren't as vested in that. I mean, I did have times where I asked my partner if they were okay, but I never asked them to go to the mall or a movie.
I understand. And I do have a question too about the psychology of like wrestling too. Like especially like when getting the moves in though. Where like are your matches like where you discuss it with your opponent saying, okay, we'll do this spot, we're gonna, and then we'll start this match, and this is how we're gonna finish it. Do you guys have like how to plan out the matches before prior to the event?
Okay, so the orders were sent down from Matt Semper and Steve Lance, like beginning, middle, end. And then it was our job to create and make it interesting.
Oh, I see. And another, we talked about like segments before. What were your memories filming, of course, with Sir Miles' headlock?
Okay, so that was weird. That was a weird
That was a Max Headroom parody, right?
yeah, it was a weird time because so first of all, um that was like in between. Um all the girls from 1 and 2, almost like 90% of them all went to POW. Um they were editing. So like I hadn't been in the ring for a long time, so I felt very distanced from it. And then all of a sudden it's like get on a plane, go to LA, meet in a studio. So it was very disengaged is really the only word I can come up with for it.
Oh, okay. And
But like, I had so much like okay, I think David McLean didn't like me. We weren't friends, but like he and I had great chemistry in the ring, just off the cuff. That was never scripted. Whatever we said between each other, just boom, 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 boom. That felt so real and so genuine and so good. And then later with Johnny C, same thing, loved it. But in the studio with Max, it wasn't the same thing.
that's fair. And of course, another person I formed a great friendship with before she for unfortunate passing.
Oh, you're gonna say Lynn Braxton? I know it.
Big Bad Mama.
You're gonna say Big Bad Mama,
Yes.
aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Oh, and you told me you're friends with her daughter. So one of the biggest regrets of my entire life is that when Lynn was dying, I wasn't around. One of the happiest times in my life was Big Bad Mama's house. Just an average Glow provided apartment. But we played cards at her kitchen table. I can't even tell you what games we played because I'm a Vegas girl and they weren't any Vegas games. Like we weren't playing poker, we weren't playing we were playing other things. But God, that woman had the heart of gold. And I just, I felt like I really, really belonged and was part of her family. We played cards at her kitchen table and had the best time ever. I'm so sorry she's gone. And I'm so, please, her children, please forgive me that I wasn't around.
I understand. Of course, I do want to ask too, because you're a former Glow champion, Lori. What were your memories of winning the Glow crown? And of course, who told you in advance that you were going to be winning the title?
Yeah, that one stinks. I never officially won the Glow title. Tina Ferrari and I had so many amazing matches, so many almost pins, la 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 la. End of season 2, Tina Ferrari was the Glow champion. Oh, went to POW. What are we gonna do now? Okay, so we go in the editing room and they just take one of those pins where I thought I won. It was very hollow because I didn't actually win. I didn't really win it in the ring.
I see. Do you think that with the mass amount of tag teams that we had in Glow, I mean, we had you and Major Tanya, we had Susie Spirit and Debbie Debutante, we've had the Fiji sisters. Do you think that Glow should have created a tag team crowns or even like a tag team titles?
Well, can you imagine? I was thinking about this today. Okay, so I'm going through my list. Glow 1 and 2, Glow 3 and 4. Can you imagine if they were all mixed together? Like if Godiva wrestled Americana, Beauty versus Beauty. If Beastie wrestled Spanish Red when she had turned babyface. Like there were all these amazing, amazing matches that didn't happen because of the breakup. So I do think tag teams are a lot of fun. I think tag teams are great. Yes, there should have been a tag team crown.
Now we talked. You mentioned tag teams though too. Like, what's your opinion on battle royals? Fun?
Crazy! Oh my god! Oh my god! Crazy. There's so many women in the ring at one time. There's so much going on, and you all kind of have like your little. You have your little duties, like you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, but something goes wrong and all of a sudden boom, somebody gets thrown out of the ring that wasn't supposed to be out of the ring. Okay, so you got to improvise. It just, to me, it's like chaos. It's just like so much going on, and exhausting because you're like trying to do your part, but you're trying to like stay out of other people's way. And yeah, crazy.
We talked
Oh,
about.
I'm not using that word again. Wait, I gotta say something. Okay, so this is I'm an old school person, and like I use the word crazy a lot, right? So I just did an interview with Mike Rand, and the only thing I was like, oh my god, I didn't really say that. It's like my beloved Palestina. I love my Palestina. And I always say, she's so crazy, like it's a good thing. But you can't use that C word anymore. It has to be she's very, very, very passionate. Very, very passionate, but she is not mentally not there. So got to change that word.
I definitely want to ask you too, of course, because you participated in not just Nasty and Mean, Good Girls Don't, but you also participated in the Glow Games. What were your memories of filming your particular segments in the Glow Games, like the arm wrestling, the water warfare? Take me there.
Yeah. Okay, so I've lived in Vegas for over 50 years, and the best kept secret in media has always been, and now hotels have changed things, but people jumped off the roofs. Okay, that night of gambling, lost the kids' college fund, jumped off the roof. So early morning was the arm wrestling, which I was really nervous about. I did not want to arm wrestle California Doll. And filming was like held up for hours because there was a body that had to be disposed of.
Ooh.
So that was just like, but you know, I grew up in Vegas. We all knew this. Doesn't happen anymore. They've changed the roofs, so people can't do that. But it just was part of the scenery. So I was very nervous about arm wrestling California Doll. Jane, strong, tall, beautiful, lot better arm strength than me. All my strength was in my legs. I cheated. I wrapped my leg around the post of the podium so I could use my leg strength. That was the only way I could beat her. But I was like, Nanoshka cannot. This was Glow Games. There was no script. There was no script for Glow Games. So that's when the the pizza fight happened.
Oh yeah.
Which I would instigate, and my cheating California Doll.
It's very cool. I do want to ask you too, of course.
No, it's not cool. I feel terrible about it to this day. But there was no way. There just was no way.
You were in character though.
Yeah, but I cheated. I
Um,
cheated not in character. Like in the ring, when we were doing other shows that were scripted, like you could get away with anything. But this, I just cheated. And I feel really bad about it.
I'm sorry.
But I felt funnier. I felt funnier when Chainsaw talked to you about she gave actual arm wrestling techniques to Ashley that used it on her and beat her. So that's funnier.
Oh, that she's awesome though. She's definitely one of my awesome friends. I do want to also ask you, of course. Let me get the questions out here. One of the most not dangerous, but one of the most extreme matches in Glow I've ever seen will always be Nanoshka versus Dallas in a barroom brawl. Because I believe it was the first and probably the only match that featured blood. I'd never seen that in Glow. I just want to get your memory of shooting that particular match, and of course working with Debbie Dallas.
Okay, so I've said this before. Like, okay, so Dee Buhar, Matilda Hun, was a wrestler before Glow. The only other wrestler before Glow was Killer Tomato.
Yep, Debbie.
Dallas. Yeah, yeah. And I get her first. Okay. I was scared to death. I was so scared of her. But you know what? My favorite scene of that whole thing was because I was so nervous. She was so awesome, so wonderful. My best match of all time. But if you watch it closely, there's one moment where she's throwing me into the pillar and some little kid gets in the way. And I just have to like freeze for a second for him to pass by and then, crush through the wall. And yeah, that hurt. That hurt because I stopped my momentum. But yeah, that one was like, okay, so that was a moment of you're in the moment, you're fueled with adrenaline, you're feeling the pounding, you're hurting, but just having that second of awareness. Other wrestlers have said they always felt safe with me in the ring because I was a performer, and like I had that moment of I'm being flung into a pillar and a small child is in the aisle, so I have to stop, I have to make adjustments. You know, I'm clear-headed. I'm there in that moment. So, but love Debbie.
Same
She
here.
just had a great anniversary. She has the best pictures of her anniversary in Lake Tahoe. I'm so jealous.
She's awesome. Definitely love me some Debbie Dallas. Of course, you formed in season 3 and 4, I believe. You formed a tag team with Noelle, Major Tanya, which I thought was one of the best tag teams in season 3 and 4. You're of course working the tag team, and of course memories with Noelle because Noelle is awesome.
Yes, and I think um okay, so Noelle was actually, I mean, not necessarily she was brought into Glow, but she came in as the Russian so that I could transition to a good girl, because that was my desire, which in hindsight was probably foolish. But I feel better knowing that they wanted to turn Royal Hawaiian into a good girl too. It just changes things up a lot. I didn't get to spend as much time with Noelle as I would have liked to, because it was kind of a fast transition, right? Like she came in, we were tag team partners, that was awesome, but it was all with the idea of me turning.
And I actually wanted to talk to you about that too because there was a match in particular. It was, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
pull it up, where you actually memories of your match with Daisy for the Glow Crown, because this was the match where you abdicated the crown and turned on Major Tanya, became babyface, and I remember the line that you said was, "I have more pride and more integrity than you will understand," and then you abdicated the crown.
Well, that shouldn't have been a surprise. Okay. Season 1, I gave up 10 grand from the Battle Royal to fight Americana. So why wouldn't I give up the crown?
I'm at a stalemate.
Oh my God, he's speechless.
Yep, you had me at a stalemate. I have no idea.
Well, Nanoshka was all about okay, so I wanted the Glow crown from Americana.
Ah,
I wanted the Glow crown from Tina Ferrari. And I didn't get that. So it lost its luster to me.
it didn't have the same feel to it like you would have wanted against Americana and of course Tina Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. I have to admit that's true.
Now, did you like portraying the good guy better or the bad guy?
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't really feel time to develop that. My biggest thing was, I'm a dancer, a choreographer. I was I was constantly jealous of the cheerleaders, right? The cheerleaders, I wanted to be like them, to be able, and it's funny, I just watched that match with Daisy, and hello, Nanoshka did a black flip off the turnbuckle to start the match. Like, I missed that. I wanted to be able to show more of what I could do. So that's why I wanted to turn babyface.
Yeah, and you talked about that match. That's also in that same match when you were making your way to the ring. This is showing you that Nanoshka was going to turn babyface by the end of the match because she was high-fiving the audience.
Yeah.
And I thought that was awesome.
There's my dog. This is Ricky. This is my dog, Ricky.
Adorable.
I replaced Vladimir with Ricky. He snuck in there.
I do have to ask you too, like, what were your thoughts from transitioning from the black and red Russian heel to the babyface like French pink attire though, like in general though, like what was your thoughts on the transition from heel to babyface?
Well, here's the funny thing, okay? Because you know my mom, costume designer, right?
Yes.
And the thing with Glow was there was just like a set price. Uh, every costume, every character was the same amount of money. And my mother and my sister were always like laughing a little bit, saying, "God, I loved my costume. I thought my costume was absolutely perfect, but it was like the simplest costume, uh, like in the whole show." They're like, wow, we really didn't go out of our way to make something special for you. Although, like I say, it was absolutely perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I think when we went to the French thing, we're like, pull out all the stops. We're just gonna go a little crazy here.
And you also had your own, you had input on your costume design, right? Like you had an input on how your costume came out, right? On both of them.
Actually, no. Like I say, my mom and Matt Simber had a really good inner dialogue between the two of them, and I'm not aware. They're only okay. This is a funny story because the only costume I can remember that got changed. Uh-oh, I lost you.
Oh, see,
Okay, I'm there. Sorry.
there you go.
The only costume that I ever remember there being a change of, because like Matt would talk to my mom, she'd feel him and come up with something great. Okay, except for one time. The original costume for Jungle Woman was that green unitard that I did the pay-per-view with Daisy when I had the long brown hair.
Yep.
That was the only time Matt was like, no, 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 Jungle Woman has to be black, black and dark. And that was the only costume that I remember that Matt had anything different to say about.
I see.
But I don't think as characters we really had any say.
Did you have a favorite
Not
though?
that I'm aware of.
But did you have a favorite though between the red, the black and red, and the pink and the green? If you had to choose between those three.
Uh, Hindsight is 2020. I'd go back to the black and red.
Oh, okay.
Made me look thin.
Well, you were definitely a dominant powerhouse, though. I mean, like when you look at the kitty killers, the head they have it in classes though. There's lightweight, and then there's middleweight, and then there's heavyweight. Like you, Matilda, Big Bad Mama, I'm even gonna say Palestina, all were classified as heavyweights, like powerhouses, unstoppable forces. Um, do you think that's a fair analogy?
Okay, so you were going with bad girls.
Yes.
So, but like that wasn't counting like Beastie and other people. That was just season 1 and 2.
Oh no, but I'm just saying like seasons 1 to 4 though. Like I just threw out some names, like yourself, Matilda, Big
Okay.
Bad Mama.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think it's like boxing matches. Like I was blessed to work at MGM for a while in the wardrobe department, and I got to go to like boxing matches, and they were all exciting and wonderful. And like I was with the ring girls, so I was right on the corner post. Okay, and the lightweight fighters, oh man, they're fast, they're scrappy, they're this and that, but there's nothing like a heavyweight match, like a heavyweight boxing match. And that kind of reminds me of like Big Bad Mama and Mountain Fiji, Matilda the Han, Fiji. Like it's a different thing when you have like a big figure in the ring. So yeah, I think we filled that bill.
Okay. And of course, I definitely wanted to ask you this question, and this question is I'm gonna ask that in a second though. Let me ask this question. Did you have a favorite opponent?
Um, well, forever, like my Dallas, Texas Barroom Brawl will be my best match ever. Okay, so that's always going to be really, really, really special. But I love me some Americana. I loved that.
Oh man, and this question actually, and you mentioned before how, and this was a very good point though, where you said it's a shame that none of the season one, two, and the 3, 4 girls never got to have like those dream matches, like like Spanish Red versus Vicky Victory. This is actually a question from a good friend of mine, Richard Hughes, and the question was, and I quote. One question for Lori Nanoshka. During her time as a bad girl, was there any good girls she never got to face but always wanted to? But and also when she turned good, was there any bad girls that she never got to face in the ring?
Okay, so strangely, I never fought Susie Spirit, which is probably a good thing because we were friends before Glow, and that would have been really weird. Like I had no trouble wrestling Debbie Debutante, but Susie Spirit, that would have felt weird. I never, when I turned babyface, I never could have faced Matilda the Hun. Like that, yeah, that couldn't have happened.
Now,
Couldn't have done that.
did you also have? You never had a one-on-one match with Mount Fiji, right?
No.
Do you think that would have been a dream match soon?
Although Mountain Fiji gave me the worst injury I had in Glow. Okay, so it was Battle Royal. She picked me up. It was in rehearsal. She threw me out of the ring, and I fell right on my butt cheek, right on the corner of the ring, on the outside of the ring. I had the biggest, ugliest, deepest, darkest blue, purple bruise I've ever had in my life. Oh my God, that thing hurt so bad. And that was dress rehearsal. So then the next day I had to go back and do it again. Oh, that hurt. That was the worst pain I felt in Glow.
I'm sorry about that, Lord. Uh, I,
I
I, I do
didn't
have,
mean it.
I, I do have a couple of questions before we conclude, though. One of the questions I always wanted to Sue, because I've heard interviews like wrestlers say, like like promotions like WWE, uh, they have great catering. Though, what was the catering like in the Riviera Hotel in Glow?
Okay, so when seasons 1 and 2, we could eat at the buffet 3 times a day. Awesome. Great. And I always remember this because Matt said to me, like early on, he's like, because you go to a buffet, like you're so excited, you want to get every piece of like, oh, a little Mexican, a little this. He's like, no, if you're gonna eat the buffet every day, you got to pick one food one day. Like come and just have Italian, or come and have salad, and come. And he was so right because if you mix it all together, um, yeah, it was a mess. Now 3 and 4, we didn't have catering.
Was there a reason why?
We got spoiled at the Riviera.
I see. And of course, in 2012, they released the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling documentary, of course, and this was in light of the 2010 reunion they had, well, for Emily, though. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the documentary itself as a whole.
Okay, so documentary turned out well for me in the end. Um, I I had such a problem with, honestly, I was so trained in kayfabe. So I was really nervous about a documentary where we talked about what really happened. Like, I didn't think that was right. And like, I tried to call Matt Simber for months. Like, am I allowed to say the truth? What should I do? So they had asked me, and I put it off 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 to the very, very, very end. And my dear friend, Angelina, Little Egypt, just kept after me. So her and I actually flew to Houston to film that. And by that time, they had put so much of the documentary together that they knew pieces that were missing. So I got a lot of really nice sound bites for that reason. And I appreciated that. And I think I looked pretty good.
Still do. Still looking good, and you're still awesome. And another question too, and I'm not like sure which one would be your favorite because you had many raps. Did you have a favorite rap of yours? A favorite Nanoshka rap?
Nanoshka comes from Russia. America, I love to crush you. You boo me, you hate me all the time. You will pay, you capitalist swine.
I'll tell you my favorite. My favorite will always be Nanoshka Superior, you know it's so, because I am the champion of glow. Not one girl can escape my pin, but then Russians always win.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I uncovered another one, and I can't tell you all of it, but it had to do with Tina Ferrari, and I was like, I will crush her. It won't take long. That was another good one. Not true. None of our matches were short.
Memories of filming music scale with Susie Spirit. This is where you were dancing, like doing ballet, like in the ring with Susie Spirit.
Yeah, that was so much fun. That was fun because I got a chance to show off, a little bit of what I did. In hindsight, I love Nanochka, and oh my God, when I watch all of it, I'm so grateful. I wish I enjoyed it more at the time. I wish like I say, I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because I want to be dancing. I want to be like the cheerleaders. I want to be flipping. I want to be doing this and that. And I didn't appreciate the gift I was given.
I agree.
That's not too late. I appreciate her now.
What's next for the legendary Lori Palmer?
Okay, so 4 months from now, Lori Palmer's turning 60. And so my Little Egypt's got me on this like amazing. She sells Arbonne products that are just like totally amazing. So I'm like on this. I'm gonna turn 60 with dignity and with some sass and show the world that it is never too late, baby.
Inspiring words, Lori. I just have one question. It's a minor one too, but I always wondered this as a young lad though. You had the Russian symbol like on your shoulder though. Was that was that a temporary tattoo? Was it a sticker? I always wondered this as a young boy.
Yeah, no, it was painted on. And that's gosh, now that you bring that up, I am not gonna be able to say her name. She was the most amazing woman. She was from New Orleans. She did all the face painting. She painted Spike and Chainsaw, all the great makeup she did. And Matt and Americana found her on the streets of New Orleans and brought her to Las Vegas. And she was just such a genius, way ahead of her time. But look at all that makeup, the Hollywood and Vine, the Chainsaw and Spike. She was just, she was legendary.
Yeah.
So yeah, my hammer and sickle was just painted on.
And of course, one of the final questions, if not the final question I will ask is, of course, your memories of doing the Glow pay-per-view of 1993, which we mentioned earlier, where you fought Daisy, where we saw a brand new Nanoshka, where it wasn't the short blonde-haired Nanoshka wearing the black and red. Now we had the long brown-haired Nanoshka wearing the green attire. Your memories filming the match, and of course, working with Daisy in that particular match.
Well, all I can say is that hair, that's the hair I walked into Glow with. And this is always one of my favorite stories of Glow. I told you, my mom did costumes. I went into training. Matt told me about this, and I had that long brown hair. And Matt told me about this Russian character, and I'm like, I'm showbiz, I'm all in. I call my hairdresser, cut off all my hair, go to training the next day. Not one person says a word to me all day long. And then at the end of the meeting, Matt is like, where the hell was that Palmer chick today? And I'm like, hello, I'm here. But just nobody had recognized me that I had cut all my hair. So it was a shock to me to like see that hair again. And like I say, that costume was the original Jungle Woman costume. So it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Again, you got to understand, like, I know people like, they see Glow. Like you asked about my sketches. You see this sketch every week. No, that was all filmed in one night. Like, by the time we did that pay-per-view, we hadn't wrestled for a long time. Obviously, my hair grew that much, okay? So it's like very disjointed. It's not like, you know, I actually still have nightmares. I have nightmares about, like, I have to show up for a match and I haven't rehearsed. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if I'm too old, if I can do it. But and that's what that pay-per-view thing was like. It was just like, boom. And we hadn't wrestled for a while. So.
I see. And of course, Lori, this is the part where, because my show is an open forum, you can talk about anything you like, say anything you like. The floor is yours, Miss Palmer.
Okay, so let's talk about how when I go off, blah, 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 and you're like, I see, ma'am. I see. You're trying to be respectful. I'm just so grateful to be hearing so much from the fans. Thank you, Petey, for this. Life is good. Thank God we're coming out of COVID. I've been fully vaccinated for months. I'm so happy.
I see, and I say this. Look at me, Pavlin. I say this because, Lori, I have so much amount of respect for you, what you've done in Glow. I've been a fan of yours for a very long time. Level of respect for you up here for what you've done in Glow. And before we conclude, though, I just want to say, thank you for not only doing this interview, but also thank you for the memories you gave me watching Glow. And of course, as a longtime fan of wrestling for 20 years, since I was a little boy, and I know you're a heel, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway, and it's something that you deserve, and that is, thank you, Lori. Thank you, Nino. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Nino. And also,
oh my God, you're such a geek. You are such a geek.
And then also,
oh my God, I sounded like Matilda. I sounded like Matilda when I laughed there. I like that.
Oh man, and also one last chant, and that is.
Oh, and actually, my dear friend Matilda has been in the hospital for a while. So anybody watching, please send her some prayers. She's doing great. She's getting better, but send her your love.
She has my prayers and thoughts and love. And any last words you would like to say before we conclude, Ms. Palmer?
Do svidaniya.
You're awesome. Thank you again, and I'm going to send you a copy of this interview as soon as I'm done editing it, so I can, and I'll definitely promise I'll send it to you by the end of the night. Again,
no worries.
Thank you so much, Lori. It was such an honor and pleasure to interview you. You've always been one of my favorites in Glow. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You rock.
You rock. Have an awesome night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.